Hello everyone, so welcome to this new... Oh, it didn't like me moving that. Welcome to this new webinar series, Optimizing Testosterone for Natural Athletes. So we're going to go into how, especially men, how to optimize their testosterone and how we can affect our levels by producing it. It's a topic that's probably been one of the most up and coming topics this year. I've had it multiple times, and how to optimize testosterone. So we're going to go through some lifestyle factors, how to improve it, foods to recognize that have potential for increasing testosterone, and what lifestyle factors we should be looking for. So we're going to go straight into it. Some of this I've gone over with a few people, but it's always good to get a video in and going into more in depth just to make sure that I've covered all points. So on a global scale, we are decreasing in testosterone on average across the world. They reckon it could be associated with depression, inflammatory diseases, infertility, obesity, heart disease, prostate disease, diabetes, metabolic disorders, and insulin resistance. We know on average that males' testosterone drops after a certain age, around the late 20s, 30s, and it starts to decrease to 1 to 2% a year. That's just normal, but the sliding scale of people's testosterone over the years has vastly decreased. So in the up and coming years, the NHS have actually changed their scale from to over 10 to 13, and it's kind of slidden down slowly with a sliding scale associated with that. So there's a lot of symptoms with males for suffering with low testosterone levels. The problem, a lot of people, males in particular, get embarrassed with the symptoms, and when suggested with the symptoms, it can actually kind of flick a trigger in your head where you flick a switch where you've kind of like, I've got that. But no one really talks about it, especially males being males. They don't really talk about it because obviously the nature of it, and then people get kind of wary of the subject of testosterone because it's associated with anabolic steroids. But the taboo of it, I think in the up and coming next 10 years, it's going to be more prevalent in this country. It's very now at the moment in America quite high. I think it's something like 1 in 4 or potentially more than that are on some sort of way of improving their testosterone. So this is kind of a way of kind of just opening up and seeing if you've got any of these symptoms and worth maybe getting blood tests to see if you have it. But there is a lot of information of controversial health decreases and health symptoms with having low. So actually a lot of people will often get scared of having high, but actually there's a lot of symptoms of health diseases with having low testosterone, and ultimately there is some research that suggests that more people are dying from low testosterone than high. Okay, so benefits of having optimal testosterone count: decreases in body fat, fat burning, increases in muscle mass, improves heart health, helps to treat depression in some scenarios. That being said, it's not an antidepressant. It's just optimizing your hormones so you feel that potentially you could be feeling lethargic and tired from that. So it's a byproduct, not in theory. Some people, in some circumstances, there will be people that are getting treated for depression but will have low testosterone and vice versa. But tricky subject to get into. Probably worth getting your bloods done if you're having some of these symptoms. Definitely worth just getting it checked if you do. Improves memory, protects against Alzheimer's, fights chronic inflammation. So 2 types of reasons for having suboptimal levels: injury to that area or injury to the head as well. That gets called a primary, and then a type 2, a secondary, is from an effect on the body that you've kind of self-inflicted. So obesity, alcohol, opioid, chemical disruptions, plastics and chemicals and pesticides and stuff like that can also affect it apparently. So there's not enough research going into it. Obviously, it's quite a controversial topic, but that's what it's suggesting at the moment. Hacks for trying to increase it: getting enough sleep. So a basic, making sure that we're getting 8 hours of sleep per night, potentially more. Anyone that's getting 5 hours of sleep has been shown to decrease from 10 to 15%. Getting rid of any excess belly fat and be leaner has been shown to associate with more optimal levels, especially look in this study here, up to 14% increase in marathon runners due to that being leaner compared to difference. Strength training. So a lot of you, well, obviously everyone will be following who's watching this stuff. Strength training program. Making sure it's heavy but not within reason. So that what they mean by that is you shouldn't be maxing out all the time. The reason behind that is it could potentially burn you out and obviously put you in a state of fatigue. So they're trying to say within reason. And then also sprint intervals have also been shown to increase natural T levels. So that's actually more effective than strength training, which a lot of people don't know, is that it's actually vastly one of the most effective way to increase testosterone levels is actually sprint interval work. I particularly like hill sprints. Some of you will have that in your program. That is the reasoning behind it, is because it has been shown to increase maximal force production in minimal time and activating fast twitch muscle fibers, which is a way of increasing your it's basically the fibers that make you sprint or can react in a fast amount of time. So it's very high velocity, so very short time with minimal load. So that, whereas weights will be the opposite, is not so fast but more load. Controlling your stress levels, meditating. Obviously, in this culture, in our lifestyle at the moment, especially in this country and in America and stuff like that as well, is that it is quite difficult to relax, and people get stressed out with work, money, lifestyle, etc. The cortisol levels will come up, and that will affect your testosterone levels because you'll be super stressed out. Prolonged stress will significantly lower your testosterone levels. Some of the ways to counteract that: meditation, spending time in nature and walking without your phone, eating whole good quality food sources, and there's also adaptogenics, ashwagandha, and there's some other ones like fagoja, and some other ones that can have been suggested that could have helped. Aspartic acid, is the other ones that potentially can increase your testosterone levels. Ashwagandha is more of a stress reliever, and vitamin C. Obviously, making sure we've got enough micronutrients: zinc, magnesium, vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin K2, vitamin A, vitamin E, manganese, and boron has been suggested. So some of these are not actually, don't have actually an optimal amount from that in this country. They're not considered an essential mineral, but it has been linked and associated with testosterone. So boron being one of them. But we'll go into more food sources in a minute. Okay, so these are the foods that they suggest: grass-fed beef and lamb. The reason they say grass-fed is because of the grains can affect the omega balances in fat sources, and especially in animal products and red meats as well. So if you're getting something that isn't grass-fed, it can potentially throw off the omega balances and going into more omega-6 than omega-3s. And the reason that's bad is that it's actually affecting the quality of the fat. The fat is one of the important sources when it comes to regulating your hormones. So it's actually full of micronutrients, which is important. I'm not saying to go fucking balls to the walls with eat as much fat as you want. I'm just saying if you're choosing that as your fat source, high quality fat sources are probably the most important thing when it comes to regulating your hormones. So that should be a priority with your nutrition, is getting a high quality fat source. That is why they're suggesting with beef and lamb and a red meat, which has a very good amount of micronutrients in it, coupled that with a good quality fat, which is the fat on the meat, with a grass-fed source, is going to have a very good omega-3 profile, and you're going to be able to ingest the high-quality micronutrients, which will be higher in grass-fed animals compared to grain or whatever they've been fed. That's kind of the reasoning behind it as well. If you go into the other ones, the other fats, grass-fed butter, virgin olive oil, avocados, eggs, Brazil nuts, dark chocolate, those fats, getting high quality substances from those sources is going to help with digestion on a better molecular scale, and it's going to help with hormone production. So getting high quality fat sources is probably something that I'd highly recommend with people that are struggling with hormonal imbalances. And then there's some other suggestions. Organic potatoes, same again. The reasoning behind that is avoiding pesticides, which is a chemical distributor which can kind of affect the signaling from your brain to, or your hormone production can have. They reckon there is some potential in there that can affect it. There is needed more research on this, but at the moment there is some studies that suggest that it could affect it. So that's why kind of going organic and maybe anti-pesticides, and maybe not going super cheap, maybe going for having some organic foods within your diet is going to have some benefits. Dark green leafy veggies, spinach, kales, stuff like that, pak choi, spinach, broccoli, stuff like that, pomegranates, dark berries, blueberries, that's meant to say, dark raspberries, strawberries, cherries, got tons of benefits, red onions, Brazil nuts, some suggestions on that as well. But yeah, cacao nibs is raw cacao nibs. You can get them from health supermarkets like Holland and Barrett, little tiny nibs that you put into foods. It's okay. I'll probably stick with dark chocolate if I'm being perfectly honest, just because it's a bit bitter for my personal taste. If you don't like dark chocolate, you're definitely not going to like raw cacao nibs. And that's it. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. If you want any more help from me, you can always drop me a message. I've gone into a lot of information there. And then if you do think you're struggling with testosterone and you feel concerned that you have some of those symptoms, the best thing I can recommend is either getting a blood test from Medichecks, which is a finger prick test, which you can get done in the post. They get sent it to your house. You can get that in your finger prick and go into a little vial. You fill it up the tube and then get sent off, and they'll give you it within 1 to 2 working days instead of going it through the NHS. It's like 20 quid. It's probably worth it in the long run for getting the speed of going through that process. Also, there is, if you're local to Huddersfield or Home Firth, there's a company called eVal, which is also based in Huddersfield, which you can go to and get that done in Huddersfield to drive and you can even get they do a wide array, but you can do a single blood test of testosterone. It's a little bit more because you're getting it done by a nurse. But then you could also, if you want to increase that profile and get more blood markers, if you're concerned, they do a whole vast array of blood markers that you can be measured. If you want the details of that, please just drop me a message and I'll send you across the links if you're struggling to find them. Let me know if you enjoyed this video and if you want more information like this. So really hot topic at the moment, and kind of a great starting point with information about increasing your natural testosterone levels and how to increase your natural markers. Have a great rest of the day. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will speak to you.